Alright, here I have an X2 Voyager, and I'm zoomed all the way in here because I'm not going to talk about this blade opened or anything other than texturing on the handle and the characteristics shared by this texturing and the Zytel handle of the older Voyager models. Nutnfancy did a video on the AK where he modified underneath the clip to eliminate some of the fabric shredding properties of the aggressive texture and suggested that it would be good to do on the Voyager. I know that he's done it to his medium Voyager. I can't think of any other immediate examples other than his AK video, and I basically followed those steps to do the same thing to this X2 Voyager. It didn't come out perfectly seamless or anything, and I kind of botched the paint job. I'm slipping it in my pocket a little bit before the paint was totally set up, but I think it turned out pretty good, and I documented the process for anyone else who might possibly be interested in doing this to their Voyager, following specifically the lines right here. Anyway, hope I can make it watchable length. First, obviously, we're going to have to tape off our smooth edges where we don't want any glue. That way you can keep, or you can form a glue scale inside the texturing, and we don't have to even mess with this part. As far as cleaning up flash, I'm going to use masking tape. You could use 1 inch wide or 3/4 inch wide. I just had some 1.5 I trimmed down to size. And after degreasing, just pick a relatively straight portion to begin. Hold the tape down, pull the edge taut, and move on to the next portion. Keep following with your other thumb or finger to press it down. And make sure, the most important part is just to make sure you don't have any puckering on the edge for glue to get under, or paint, or whatever you're trying to tape off. And then once you have it where you want it, smooth it down really well. And I would probably do 2, maybe even 3 layers like this. It'll really cut, good tape job here will really help you to cut down on your work later. And this is the side that I'm obviously going to glue. Up here I use the tape to follow the recess for the pocket clip, and then ended my line following the checkering in the Zytel by one more row below where the pocket clip ends. I really like the way the Raja 2 and Black Rock Hunter slide really easy onto my pocket, and I don't think cosmetically this can have any negative effect going over this a little bit. I might even suggest coming all the way to the end of this depression for the rocker bar, but I'm not going to do it on this knife. I don't want to go too far over. I can always come back and redo it. But just so you guys have an idea of the process, and yeah, I think now it's time to glue. But I always use a windshield wiper insert or a toothpick or something more rigid as a mixer. Mix them till it's all the same color. Alright, let's begin. Just glob it on it first. Don't have to worry so much about the edges because of our tape job. Okay. Try not to get over onto the tape more than you have to, but I mean it's not going to be a huge issue if you do. And obviously, like he said, you want to get it as smooth as you can, or as thin as you can, so you have least amount of work at the end, but you don't want to have pieces of the texture showing through. Oh yeah, I think that this is going to work out well. And if it doesn't, well, I'll show you that too. So I can see as it soaks into the try to keep those edges clean. Wipe off my applicator, wipe off the excess, come in here. Try to keep those edges of the tape visible. My initial application of it kind of settled A little more than I thought it would. See if I can get a little bit of excess on the top, and I'll just have to do more sanding because of that. Yeah, that's real goopy. It's actually the first time I've done this, so to a surface this large, not really surprised I'm having some difficulty with the work time on the quick version of the stuff. Excess out. Wow, look at how fast that's cured already. Can you believe that? It's rubbery. I'll take my knife, I bet I can just cut it out. Yeah! Alright, it's been a few hours. Let's look at what we have. I went back after the video and I did actually use my knife to scrape some of the rubbery excess off of the areas I knew I would have to take it off of. And good thing that I put down 2 layers of tape, because I actually came through the top of that tape in doing so. Not a bad thing. You can see, of course, I went quite a bit thicker than was necessary, and so that's just going to mean more sanding. Not really sure what happened on my last video. The lighting was really poor for the glue spreading part, but I think I hit a different setting or something. But we're going to start work on this. I'm going to have to go back and start the initial sanding on this, see where I'm at. Now, because of all the excess that I had to do a little more power tool sanding than I anticipated. Not that you couldn't do it all by hand, I just don't have the time to fool with that, and I did want it to look really nice, so I over applied. Now I'm going to try to smooth it out even more than this with a little hand sanding, and actually I'm going to use some Scotch-Brite instead of sandpaper, just because for most projects I feel like it lasts a little bit longer than sandpaper. Sandpaper gets gummed up really quick, and generally you just don't get as much use out of it as you do something like the Scotch-Brite. Green is going to be more coarse. Your red is going to be less coarse. Of course, your gray is even less abrasive, and then your white pad is going to be your polishing pad. Not really sure on the grit rating of this stuff, but works. I like to use it for sanding too. Sanding other materials. Doesn't clog up with sawdust. Get a little circle action in it so we don't get too many tool marks in the shape of straight lines when we go to polish. And I think that the edges right here are really starting to be exposed. You can see how I'm wearing away my tape, and that should mean that I'm onto the plastic or the Zytel. And that way when I tear off my tape, I won't be tearing up the edges of my glue. Not really sure about up here though. And I think this is a really good project. Important reason I put this tape down in the rocker bar, so crap doesn't get down in the locking mechanism, because this one you can't take this one apart. All you can do is blow it out with compressed air, which should be enough, but you don't want to get glue down in there, that's for sure. probably should have taped off the blade channel, but I didn't. So yeah, and this is starting to look pretty much about as good as it gets. I say let's take our tape off and see what we got. Shit. It's peeling up out of the texturing right there. A little bit too thick. Extra work. It would have behooved me to be more careful. If all else fails, I will take some of that clear glue I didn't want to use and use it to glue down my weld. I have to clean up this edge right here. That's not going to be good. It's relatively flush on the corners. That's good. All in all, I'd say not bad. See, the lines came out pretty clean. Alright, so this has been a learning process for me. Took my 500 and came around the edges, and just to make sure that this was flush, I got into the plastic a little bit. I don't think it'll be that hard to even out, and the paint's going to hide it a little bit. So just to make sure there is no edge here that can get grabbed, and work your glue scale up. There you go. Have a piece of flat stock just to make a little sanding block, and don't have to really get into this Zytel much, just have to eliminate this edge. So let's get down on there and okay, I don't exactly like the gray coloring. So, I mean, this was the plan from the start anyway. I do have some Krylon. It's not satin like Nutnfancy used. I'm going to try a matte black finish and we'll see how that looks. But I have to say, I am pretty happy with the way this is turning out. Didn't think that I would be. You can see, although I really tried to avoid it, I did come through the tiniest bit onto the top of those Zytel pyramids, and I'm hoping the paint will hide that. I'm going to try some flat black Krylon. If I can get the cap off. It's been about 20 minutes. Coat 2. I missed it a little bit there, but it's been about another 20. I think this is the last coat I'm going to put on it, and then we'll see how it looks with the tape off. You know what? It didn't set it off at all. It kind of just matched it. But I don't know. What do you guys think?